Hello, it's Friday, August the 4th, 2017, and you're watching Life Talk. I'm Mark Crutcher.
I'm Renee Hobbs. Thanks for being with us.
And who was it that jumped on us the other day when I said it was Monday and it was actually Tuesday?
I know, we don't want to have 2 Mondays in a row.
We don't have 2 Mondays or 2 Fridays or whatever.
No, it's Friday.
Anyway,
Happy Friday.
I got it right this time, so we're okay. First, we got a, I think, very interesting show here to talk about today, but before we do, something's kind of come up today that's kind of interesting. You know, we've told people before, we just had an employee that had a baby.
Yes.
Dana in our office just had her 4th baby, a little boy named Jack.
Yeah.
And
he's a sweetie.
He's a sweetie, and we've made a nursery here at the office, and he comes every day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for people out there in the audience who are thinking about doing this, if you run a company or an organization or whatever, and you're thinking what kind of disruption, and I know babies could be a disruption, but Jack hasn't been a disruption. I mean, he takes up time and
yeah.
But
we're at one end of the building too, so we don't really get to hear a whole lot of it.
All
But
of it.
no, I mean he's great.
But I go back there all the time. And
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
He's such a joy. He's such a blessing to have here.
And he is. And we're in the baby business, so you got to.
That we have to honor that.
Right. But what's something that's interesting is this morning, in an effort, I think, to get her baby's picture out further and wider, Dana's the one that does social media for us. She posted a picture of her baby on social media that she took here, and she put a little quote on there of something that I had said in the past. Yeah. And I said, there is no such thing as an illegitimate child or something like that.
Right.
And she took a little picture of Jack and put it on there. And
so sweet.
there he is on the screen. Cute little baby.
Yeah.
Among boy babies, he might be the next cutest after me when I was a boy baby.
Listen, I had 2 boys of my own.
I know, I've seen them.
Yeah, you need to see their baby pictures.
I've seen their baby pictures.
No.
They showed them to me.
They're handsome.
I thought it kind of looked like the missing link or something, but anyway.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Anyway, Jack is a really cute little baby. She put that thing out there with that little saying that I had. No such thing as an illegitimate child, because I keep on hearing people talk about, well, what if a woman has an illegitimate child? And this just grates on me when I hear this. There is no such thing as an illegitimate child.
There is a lot of controversy because of that post. There's a lot of people that are going back to the biblical days and
Old Testament.
The babies are bastards if they are if they were conceived out of wedlock, and it's just
it's very mean-spirited. But that this statement that I made should have created all this controversy within the pro-life movement, because many of these people, as you know, that are making these attacks are claiming to be pro-life. And I don't want to dwell on this. We've got other things to get to right here, but I want to just throw out one thing right here. First off, I'm not going to back down on this. I'm never going to apologize for it. There is no such thing as an illegitimate child. And I would ask any of these people that are attacking me or any of the other people that are making the same point as a result of this little innocent social media post. Let me ask you a simple question. If you were sitting down in front of God and you ask him a very simple question, and this is, God, did you ever create an illegitimate child? Did you ever create an illegitimate child? What do you think he'd say?
Absolutely not.
Right. All right. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to kind of give you a behind-the-scenes look at some things that go on inside the abortion industry, some concepts that I think you need to hear about. But in the meantime, before we get to that, Renee's got a special offer for you for a Life Talk pen.
Hi, have you seen this pen? It's really neat, and people all over America are using them to show their support for the pro-life cause. They're available from Life Dynamics for $5, but because you're a Life Talk viewer, I'm going to make you an offer you can't resist. If you don't already have one of these pens, go to lifedynamics.com/prolifepen. Then when you check out, use the promo code at the bottom of the screen and I'll send you one of these pens as my gift. I'll even pay the postage. If you prefer, you can also order by phone at area code 940-380-8800. Now you can't beat that price, right? So order yours today and make sure all of your pro-life friends get one for themselves. Again, go to lifedynamics.com/prolifepin and use the promo code below or call 940-380-8800.
Okay, we're back. You know, Renee, when you first came here, and what I tell everybody that comes here is that, and nobody believes it at the beginning. I know you didn't either, but this battle is totally different when you're in it every day than when you're on the outside looking in. Things happen, and there are issues that go on that unless you're in it every day, you just don't see, and you don't see how they fit into the general scheme of the battle over abortion. And
Yes, I can agree with that.
and we've been blessed at Life Dynamics because of the nature of the things that we do, infiltrations and dealing with people in the abortion industry, like the interviews that we did down in Houston with those 3 girls that work for Douglas Carpin. We get a look at the abortion issue in a way that even other pro-life groups don't get. Father Frank and I have talked about this, and I've talked about it with Troy and others. They don't see the same things that we see.
It's definitely a look on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
That you just see concepts, and you see
Right.
ideas, and you see how things fit together.
Right.
And one of the things that I want to do, that we tried to do in the past to some degree, is give the viewers of Life Talk that kind of glimpse to see things that maybe they don't see otherwise. And I want to start a series where we do that. Not necessarily every show, but drop in shows occasionally,
Right.
especially when the news is kind of slow, which it's been the last couple of days.
Yeah.
You're the one who pulls all the news, so you know that better than I do, but there just hasn't been a whole lot going on that we needed to report on.
Right.
And so in those times, I want to start dropping in shows about concepts in the pro-abortion battle that the average pro-lifer may not have known about or may not have a way to know about.
Yeah, and I think people would definitely be interested in that.
Right. Last night, I got a call from a lady, and she doesn't watch Life Talk. She's just a random lady that had seen us on the internet and called. And she was upset because she said, I don't understand. She said she had only recently become convicted of the abortion issue. And she said, I don't understand. I've got a sister that labels herself pro-choice, and she said, she's generally a very logical and very reasonable person. She says, but every time we start talking about this, she'll bring up an issue, and you and I have seen this before. She said she'll bring up an issue that I've got a perfectly logical answer for. And she admitted she got a lot of them from stuff we've written on the internet. She said, I've got a perfectly logical, perfectly reasonable argument that she cannot deny. She can't argue about it. And she said she goes berserk. Her words were she just melts down. And she gets angry, and she starts ranting and raving and cursing, and it always winds up in a fight between us. And she said, I'm getting to the point that I don't even want to talk to her. And she said, what can I do? What can I say to her to make her see the light, to make her come around? And of course, I told her, I said, well, that'd be the magic formula. If I had that formula, I would have released it many, many years ago. But one of the things that I asked her, I said, do you suspect that perhaps your sister had an abortion at some point? Or maybe she told me her sister had a girl and 2 boys. I said, or maybe she paid for an abortion for one of her boys' girlfriends, or she forced somebody to have an abortion, or whatever it might be.
I mean, if she's getting that angry, it sounds like maybe there is some kind of abortion component in her life
There always
that
is.
she's very guilty about, and she doesn't know how to
resolve it.
resolve it. Yeah.
Right. There always is. And I had this conversation with you many, many years ago. Because we had a situation one time here in Dallas where we had set up a booth in downtown Dallas to take opinion polls on people about abortion. And we'd set it up like a professional opinion poll, and people were coming along, and we'd start talking to them about abortion. And we would then, if they were pro-abortion, if they labeled themselves pro-choice or whatever, we'd start bringing arguments to them. Say, well, would this argument change your mind, or how would you feel about this? And most people that we would talk to, I'd say 75% of them, would, maybe even if they were pro-abortion, they'd argue back and forth with you, but it would be a relatively sane argument. But a few of them, the minute you confronted them, would just explode. And I always told my people that the day that happened, I said, look, when you have that happen, 100% of the time, that person has had a personal experience with abortion. A personal experience. They've either paid for one, or if they're female, they've had one.
Right. They just feel guilty and shameful about it.
And they'll never admit it. And the only way, it's the old fight or flight syndrome. And the only way they can deal with this, since they can't run away from it, is to fight. And that's what you see. When you see people that react out of proportion to the argument, 100% of the time, that person's had an abortion. Every time.
I know this doesn't have a whole lot to do with it, but that's birth control as well. When people are on birth control and you're arguing if it's an abortion or not, and they're taking it,
Right.
they lash out. So a little bit of the same
Deal.
concept here.
And yes, you're exactly right. And you and I both have that experience.
Yeah.
And especially you tell somebody that an IUD is an abortion, they go berserk. That woman, if it's a woman, she's got an IUD or she's had one.
Right.
If it's a man, his wife has had one, or his girlfriend, or whoever.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
They can't deal with it.
Right.
And that's one of the psychological realities of the battle over abortion. And when you see the other side melt down like that, there's always a reason for it, and the reason is they've had a personal experience with abortion. Now, one of the things, and I said we want to talk about the internal dynamics of the abortion industry. One of them is, Renee, how you often see a lot of infighting in the pro-life movement. And we always talk about this, how there's this conflict, internal conflict in the pro-life movement, and why can't this group get along with this group and these people get along with these people? Well, it's human nature, and we're not going to change that. But we always have this tendency it's kind of the grass is greener thing. We look at the pro-abortion, we say, man, they're always so unified. You never see any fights on the pro-abortion side. Let me tell you something. As a group who's made its reputation infiltrating them, we can tell you for a fact that's not true. The abortion lobby, there are people in the abortion lobby who hate the guts of other people in the abortion lobby. They won't be seen in the same function with them unless it's out in public. The difference is between the pro-aborts and the pro-lifers is the pro-aborts don't air their dirty laundry in public where we do. That's the only difference.
Right. I know independent abortion clinics hate Planned Parenthood and vice versa. So that's an example of that for sure.
Right. And
they give them a dirty name. The independent Planned Parenthood gives the independent abortion clinics a dirty name.
Right.
So.
And we know what those names are, and we hear them.
Right.
And but that's just one of the biggest divide in the abortion industry, as you know, is between what I call doers and talkers. I want you to draw a distinction in your mind between those two groups. Doers are the people that work at the abortion clinics, or they own the abortion clinics, or they're the abortionist or whatever. But they're the people who actually do the abortions or provide the abortions. Talkers don't work at abortion clinics. They're the people who work in the home office of Planned Parenthood.
They sit behind a desk and they look at numbers.
Right. And it's philosophical for them. And they're the guys who go to D.C. and have a $200 lunch with a pro-abortion congressman or whatever. But they don't work at the abortion clinics. And they never have and they never will. There's no crossover between these groups. They don't go back and forth. And they're very separate. And there is sometimes a hatred, and we've had this experience with some of them that we've interviewed, some of them that have been right here in this office, between these two groups. The doers, let me back up. The talkers, let's go talk about them first. The talkers, the people that go out on television and defend abortion in their own, their own television shows, and they go on CNN and they get interviewed, and like I said, they have the $200 lunches in congressmen. They look upon the doers as the ghouls of the pro-abortion side.
And let me make something clear too. You would never catch the talkers doing the doer's job because they would pass out. They probably have never even seen a live dead baby, aborted baby.
Right.
They would
panic. And the first people that told us this, by the way, were a group of doers that we had here in office, 4 of them, back when Zentra worked here. We interviewed them in the conference room here. And they had it was hostility near hatred for these people. And they made the very point that you're just making.
Oh, really?
They said, I remember this one woman saying, look, these, I won't use the term that she used to describe them, but she says, these blah, 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 couldn't last 5 minutes at our facility.
They wouldn't want to get their hands dirty.
They wouldn't last 5 minutes there. But the talkers see them as the ghouls and kind of the necessary evil that, yeah, we don't like them. And every time they go out here and do something outrageous, every time that one of them turns into a Gosnell or a Douglas Carpin or somebody like that, we're the ones who have to go out and defend them.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We have to play like it's okay what they do.
Yeah.
So they hate them from that standpoint. The talkers see the doers as the prima donnas. I mean, the doers see the talkers as the prima donnas.
Right.
And like this girl here said to us, they wouldn't last 5 minutes at the abortion clinic. They'd pass out cold.
Right.
And I'll never forget one of the other women that was here that particular night, I mean. She said, she said something to indicate that she really had an open hostility toward these people. And, that, yeah, she's right. They wouldn't last 5 minutes in doing what we do. And she said, it's very easy for them to go out here and get onto CNN or Fox or MSNBC, some talk show, go on some political talk show, and talk about the nobility of choice. And, this is just a woman's right to choose, and these women are helped by this, and women want to do this, and they need this. She said, they have never held the hand of a woman's having an abortion. They've never sat in the counseling room with the woman who's thinking about having an abortion. They've never sat in the counseling room with a frightened girl whose boyfriend is sitting out in the waiting room, who she knows will beat the crap out of her if she doesn't go through with this abortion.
Right. Well, I guess except for those that have had an abortion, like we know Cecile Richards has had an abortion, but
Right.
so
Well, they're working off the guilt.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of people among the talkers. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to justify their abortion
Right.
by defending abortion and hoping that other women will have them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like if let's say that you and Tim were thinking about buying a new car, and your next door neighbor was also thinking. So y'all are talking back and forth, and your next door neighbor today buys a new Ford Fusion or whatever it might be. He's going to come and tell you how great that Ford Fusion is. Because the best thing that could confirm that he made the right decision is if you bought one too.
Right.
And when I was in the auto industry,
Yeah.
we used to see this constantly.
It makes them feel better. Yeah.
It makes them feel like they made the right decision.
Yeah. Right.
But if you were to say, go home tonight and say, well, we went and bought a Chevrolet Malibu, it's almost like you're saying to him, you made the wrong decision.
Right.
For the same money, you could have bought this car
Yeah.
like we did.
Ours is better.
That's what's happening a lot of times among these talkers who've had abortions, like you mentioned, Cecile Richards. She's killed at least one of her children. They've got to go out here and be this hardcore, rock-ribbed, you can't argue with me about this on the abortion issue because it confirms that they did the right thing, when in their mind they know they didn't.
Well, and the other thing is when the talkers do go out and talk and something has happened, like a Gosnell situation in Philadelphia, they make it like it's an anomaly. Like,
Right.
This is the only clinic that has ever done this. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
Right.
Or the counseling situations where they get busted for not reporting, just
Whatever.
Right.
Whatever they do, it's always an anomaly.
Yep.
This is, and reality is, you and I both know that's a ball face.
Oh my goodness.
And if you want to see the result or one of the manifestations of this doers versus talkers thing, let me go back to this woman who called the other night. She's dealing with a talker. She's not dealing with a doer. And the interesting thing here is, if you stop and think about it, it's what I told her. I said, ma'am, you're not going to win her over. You're not going to win her over. And you just have to accept that. That's not to say it never happens. But I told her, I said, look, you're now embarked on the pro-life cause. You're going to go out and try to influence people. You cannot allow this radical pro-abort just because she's your sister to discourage you from going out and talking to other people. But if you think that you're failing because you can't convince her, then that's what'll happen. You can't do that. Don't let that happen to you.
Well, this is kind of what God has. This is what God has called us to do, to be ambassadors for Him and to be vessels and to go out and to stop the murder of our unborn children.
Right. And you cannot let Satan discourage you from that
Right.
by putting somebody in your path who is totally unwinnable.
Yeah.
Now, it does happen. It's extraordinarily rare that you can convince a talker to change their mind, but it almost never happens. And you'll have people out there who will say, and I've been confronted with this by pro-lifers who will say, but wait a minute, we've got all these people that are now on our side that were one-time hardcore pro-aborts. And Carol Everett would be an example of that. Dr. Nathanson, who helped start the National Abortion Federation. NARAL.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And, you know, you can go down the list and you can find all of these people that were one time on the other side who are now on our side, and they'll say, see, you can win them over. Things that I always point out to people is 100% of those people were doers, not talkers. The doers are winnable. And you know, even those three that we sat down with in Houston, if people have watched that American abortion clinic video that we did, I mean, it's pretty horrific, the things that they're talking about doing. But even they made some statements about how horrible abortion was and how they couldn't understand how people could do this. And I can remember that when Zentra and I had those 4 from this abortion clinic in Dallas here, all 4 of those women told us the same thing. They said, we work there, but we do not understand how a woman can do this. So when you go out and you make an argument, that's what I was telling this lady last night. I said, when you make an argument about the horror of abortion and that it's a baby, the talkers can't afford to accept that. But the doers know that you're telling them the truth. Mm-hmm. So if we had confronted those 3 down in Houston and said, look, those are babies. We didn't have to do that. They were calling them babies.
They were calling them babies. They tried not to. At the end, they were starting to call them babies.
They were calling them babies.
Yeah.
They would catch themselves.
Yeah.
You know, we saw this this fetus, you know, they would do that kind of.
Yeah.
But by the end, like you say, they were calling them babies.
For sure.
So if you and I had been, instead of trying to interview them, trying to win them over, and we'd have been telling them that, look, it's a living human being, and sometimes they're born alive. A talker would argue with you about that and deny it's true, and they can't be born alive, they're not alive to start with, they'd give you all that nonsense. The doers don't do that because they've seen it with their own eyes. And that's why they're winnable, and the talkers are not winnable. That's the bottom line. And this is the dynamic that exists in the pro-life movement, and the reason I think it's important for us to talk about these things is so that you do understand what the dynamics are, and so that when you butt your head with a pro-abort talker, and you get nowhere with them, you understand what's going on. If you really want to try to win people over, win over the doers. The doers are winnable. It's the talkers that are not winnable, and that would seem on the surface to be 180 degrees out of reality, right? If I had told you that the day you came to work here, you'd have thought, that's exactly backwards. Mm-hmm. But didn't I tell you also when you came here that one of the things you're going to find out about this movement is the number of things that are 180 degrees out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That are very counterintuitive.
Right.
Logic would tell you this, but this is what the truth is.
Right.
And you have to learn how to make that transition.
Yeah.
And this is an example of it.
Yeah. We just have to keep praying for the talkers for their conversion.
Well, the doers too. But the doers are easier for us to convert.
Yeah.
You know, I've often thought about this, and you're kind of hitting on something that I had forgotten about. I talked about this with Father Frank one time. You and I have the capability, God gave us the ability to win over the doers. He's going to have to win over the talkers. And that's the bottom line. We're not going to be able to win over many of the talkers. And as long as we concentrate on that area, we're kind of like trying to hold back the ocean with a broom, you know.
It doesn't work real
well. It's not going to work real well. But anyway, that's all the time we have, and I hope that you can let us know what you think about these kind of shows where we're trying to bring concepts that you may not have thought about instead of bringing breaking news that's happening. And we are going to focus on that a lot too. But let us know what you think about these kind of shows, or if there's a subject you've often wondered about and you think, well, why does this happen, or this doesn't make sense. Let Renee know. You can send her a comment, and like I say, if we use your comment or if we use your question on the air, we're going to send you a free Life Talk mug, just like this one right here. And we'd like to hear, though, what you think about these kind of shows where we deal with these, basically what are philosophical matters as opposed to pragmatic matters. And we're going to do both kinds of shows, but if you don't want them, then we won't do them. But I've always thought it's very important for people to understand the dynamics of this battle, because that'll make it possible for you to fight the battle. And, you know, you have to understand the enemy. I've you know me, I don't believe in making heroes of other people, but you know who my hero would be if I had one, right? Mm-hmm. If I made a hero out of another human being, who would it be?
General, help me.
George Patton.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I was blank.
Golly,
we got
all this
it.
time I've worked with you.
I know. Can you imagine?
But you know, Patton always believed that you could never defeat an enemy that you didn't understand. And that's why when he was given command of the American forces in Africa to go up against Rommel, first thing he did is started reading everything he could read about Rommel. And so he could understand how the man thinks and why he does certain things.
And that's what we should do in this battle, too.
That's what we need to do, and that's the point of these particular kinds of subjects. So, I mean, these particular kind of shows. So just let me know what you think about them, or if there's another subject out there you think we might ought to cover, let Renee know. She's the one that passes this information on to me. So in the meantime, you got anything else there?
Nothing else.
Nothing else?
No.
What?
Just have a good weekend.
What's the guy's name again?
What guy's name? Oh, General Patton. General Patton.
Y'all see the problem that I have to deal with here on a daily basis. And by the way, she's not the only one. There's a whole office full of them here. So, you know, if you're ever wondering, you think, you know, that Mark Crutcher guy, he's crazy. He's a drugstore rat. Well,
oh, please.
Now you know why.
Please.
Now you know why. No. Anyway, and one of them's the girl I've been married to 46 years. You know, that's a testament to my mental health right there, that I've been able to withstand that. And now you for 6 years.
All right. Well, you're doing good.
I'm doing
You're
good.
hanging in there.
I'm doing good. Actually, I'm very blessed to have the people around me that I have, but they will drive you nuts, which is the reason I am crazy as a drugstore rat. Anyway, you got anything else?
Nope, nothing else.
That's it?
That's it.
Until when?
Till next time, remember, go for it.
You go for it.
Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win. We'll see you Monday. Have a good weekend.
Take care.